If you miss this information, you'll regret it. Let me explain. For the first time in years, ChatGPT is no longer the unquestioned leader in AI intelligence. Just weeks before OpenAI released ChatGPT 5.2, Google stunned the industry with Gemini 3, a model that surged to the top of nearly every major benchmark and forced an immediate response. What followed wasn't a routine update. It was a pressure-driven release that revealed how fragile leadership in AI has become. Gemini 3 arrived in late November and rapidly reshaped the competitive landscape. It outperformed rivals in abstract reasoning, visual interpretation, and scientific problem-solving, setting new records on demanding benchmarks like humanity's last exam. The shift was serious enough that OpenAI's own leadership acknowledged it publicly. Sam Altman praised Gemini 3's quality, and shortly after, Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff announced he had switched from ChatGPT to Gemini. That move sent a clear signal to enterprise buyers. For the first time since 2022, Google was no longer reacting. OpenAI was under pressure, and the pace of AI development had become nearly impossible to track without centralized analysis. Internally, OpenAI declared a code red. Multiple projects were paused, including Sora, personal assistants, shopping agents, advertising tools, and experimental personas. All resources were redirected toward a single goal: strengthen ChatGPT's core capabilities as fast as possible. GPT 5.2 was originally planned for late December or early January. Instead, it shipped on December 11th, an unusually aggressive acceleration. There were no flashy features or interface changes. This release focused entirely on reasoning quality, speed, and reliability. On OpenAI's internal GDP-Val evaluation, GPT 5.2 achieved a 70.9% win or tie rate against professional-level work, including spreadsheets and structured presentations. Coding performance improved on SVBench Pro and SVBench Verified, reflecting stronger multi-step reasoning and fewer failures in complex edits. Factual error rates dropped by roughly 30% in real-world usage. Long context reasoning saw major gains. GPT 5.2 reached near state-of-the-art results on MRCR-v2, with some configurations supporting up to 256,000 tokens. The model is far less likely to lose coherence across long documents or layered projects. Vision performance improved as well, cutting error rates by roughly half on tasks like chart interpretation and UI analysis. This isn't a breakthrough architecture. GPT 5.2 is best understood as a stability-focused release: fewer mistakes, stronger reasoning, better long context handling, and more reliable vision. When both models were tested on identical real-world tasks, the differences became clearer. In a practical planning task, a 3-day road trip from San Francisco to Yosemite under a $500 budget, Gemini 3 produced a clean, well-structured itinerary. GPT 5.2 matched the content, but delivered more deliberate pacing. Drive times, hikes, and rest periods were balanced more thoughtfully, making the plan easier to execute. GPT 5.2 edged ahead on coherence. In coding, both models built a functional one-page daily dashboard. Gemini 3 delivered a clean, working layout. GPT 5.2 produced a more polished result on the first attempt, with clearer structure, better typography, and a more flexible focus timer. ChatGPT's ability to render live previews directly in the chat also reduced friction. In an image-based scheduling task, both models correctly identified conflicts in a crowded calendar. Gemini 3 offered reasonable fixes. GPT 5.2 went further, restructuring the entire week into focused work blocks with clearer boundaries. The result felt sustainable rather than reactive. Across these tests, GPT 5.2 consistently transformed raw information into more usable outputs. Speed is difficult to measure precisely, but what matters is time to usable output. OpenAI has optimized GPT 5.2 for latency-sensitive workflows, prioritizing practical responsiveness over synthetic benchmarks. In everyday use, fewer iterations are needed to reach a high-quality result. At the same time, specialized agents are already pulling ahead in niche domains. Systems like SciSpace Biomed Agent automate entire biomedical workflows by connecting over 150 specialized tools, handling tasks that general-purpose chatbots struggle with. This highlights a broader shift. General models are stabilizing, while domain-specific agents are accelerating. GPT 5.2 is not OpenAI's final move. Reports indicate a next-generation system internally known as Project Garlic. Unlike incremental updates, Garlic is focused on more efficient pre-training, allowing smaller models to reach the performance of much larger ones. Smaller models mean faster responses, lower costs, and broader deployment across devices. Garlic is rumored to arrive in early 2026, potentially branded as GPT 5.5 or GPT-6. In this context, GPT 5.2 functions as a bridge, preserving competitiveness while OpenAI prepares its next architectural shift. So, should you stay with ChatGPT or move to Gemini 3? If your priority is reliability, structured reasoning, coding, and workflow automation, ChatGPT 5.2 is currently the stronger choice. It responds faster, makes fewer mistakes, and integrates deeply with existing tools. If your work is heavily visual or research-driven, Gemini 3 still holds a slight edge. The larger reality is this: the AI race is accelerating. Gemini 3 forced a recalibration, and GPT 5.2 was OpenAI's tactical response, focused on practical gains, not spectacle. The gap has narrowed, leadership is no longer guaranteed, and anyone building serious workflows must stay flexible, test often, and adapt as models evolve.